Okay, if everyone could please kindly take a seat. And then that way we can get started on time.
Okay, this is the first.
Sit, please sit next to someone new.
Oh, no.
So, you know, it's always nice to meet someone new, and we do have some new people. Gina's gonna be opening a class. Like right up to my mouth. Oh geez, I'm gonna get lipstick on it. So yeah, cause I have had some comments from new members and some people just don't attend because they don't feel welcome, because everybody does have their own little cliques. So just keep that in mind at our meetings. Those of you guys who've been here for a while or aren't a member, it's always good to meet someone new and make them feel welcome. So, cause I know Stephanie and I started at the same time and I was always lost because she wasn't there. I just sat by myself, so believe it or not. Here comes Melanie. Hi, welcome. Okay, it is 6:30, so let's get this party started. Everyone's oh my gosh, seriously, eat it, she says. Okay, so Debbie is going to come up and introduce our speaker to get us started. Lisa is checking with people on Zoom to see that they can hear and see what we have up on the screens. I know Lisa has already checked once and she got 1 thumbs up. So you have some people who may not know how to say that they can see and hear on Zoom. I know I struggle sometimes with where that bar is. So, okay, I'm gonna give this microphone over to you. You basically have to have it on your mouth.
Okay. Hello to all of you.
Hello.
Megan Ayers is our speaker today. She describes herself as a conservation-focused, small-scale, 4 seasons specialty crop farmer. So if you get all that together, how about that? Since 2020, she has been raising chickens, geese, pigs, and sheep. And she's also been producing maple syrup on 11 acres in Deputy, Indiana. And in case you don't know where Deputy is, I had to look it up. Maybe you all do. It's 18 miles northwest of Madison in Jefferson County. She served as Southeast Indiana's urban and small-scale soil health specialist for the past 3 years. She hopes to be utilizing soil health principles to grow more good food for more good people. Besides soil health, Megan will also be talking to us about winding down for the fall and starting into winter with new things and putting our beds to bed. So please welcome Megan. No, she's got one. So I'll try.
Okay, can you all hear me? Is it coming through the speakers?
You want me to adjust it?
It's not you, Megan.
It's not you again. Oh dear, it's me, it's not you.
Right?
Keep going.
Test, test, test. There it is. There it is. I'm used to screaming, so this will be really weird. Just speaking at a regular volume. So, hi. How is everybody today, this evening? Loving that. Loving
Better than we
that
deserve.
summertime weather, right? Yes, it's wonderful. So I think I might, if I walk around, it might go woo.
Yeah, if you get super close to it.
Okay, then I'll just try to stay away. Okay. So, I was really happy to be invited today to present, about soil health, about putting our beds to bed, and I'm gonna stick in some, okay, sorry, somebody was waving, I thought they were waving at me, but they were waving at you. Congratulations. Um, and I'm gonna stick in some cover crop rhetoric, hopefully to, make you all believers. So, like Debbie, so graciously introduced, my name is Megan Ayers and I work for Urban Soil Health, which is a program that is funded through the Natural Resources Conservation Service, as well as your local soil and water conservation districts. So we work with growers like yourselves on a variety of land types. So for instance, market farms, small gardens, community gardens, pool gardens, even people who are farming intensively on, say, like 50 acres, doing diversified fruit and vegetable farming. And our whole goal is to improve Indiana's agricultural lands on smaller scale parcels, because we think that as stewards of the land, all of us have an impact, no matter how big or small that land is. So I see some familiar faces here today, so I'm really excited to see you all again. Some of my my enthusiasm and my slides might be very familiar, but for those of you who have just met me, this is going to be the last time you'll ever see me, because our program got cut with the federal funding downsizing. Boo! Yes, yeah, okay, right. But that doesn't mean that excellent partners that we work with all the time, like Purdue Extension, aren't still going strong, or as strong as they can. And so just because Urban Soil Health is technically not going to be as active as they were the past 5 years, doesn't mean that you can't still access our resources online, or even talk to people who know what they're talking about as far as small scale agriculture. So please feel free to reach out, despite the fact that we're technically closing our doors September 30th. But after that, our executive director is still going to try to work to get our resources out there. So she's going to be scheduling events and making sure that our newsletter still goes out, and just spreading the word about good soil health practices across Indiana. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about putting your beds to bed, soil health, and feeding the microbes in your garden. And for those of you who've heard me before, I always talk about Indiana's soil health principles. So believe it or not, every single state has a list of soil health principles. Indiana happens to have 4. Some places have 5 or 6. But we think that ours encompasses everything that you need to be doing for soil health. And that is, 1, to minimize disturbance. So that basically just means that you want to try to avoid disturbing the soil as much as you can, whether that's physically, biologically, or chemically. The second one is to maximize soil cover. And we maximize soil cover kind of intuitively as growers, right? We want to mulch, we want to utilize companion planting, we want to make sure that there's no dirt that is available to the sun, because what happens when the sun hits dirt? Yeah. Weeds, right, absolutely. So if the sun can see your soil, then the weeds are going to grow, just end of story, right? Then we want to maximize biodiversity, and I know you guys are all doing that as well, because you're growing a multitude of things. Nature abhors a monocrop, right? We do not see monocrops existing in nature. Even when we think about like singular ecosystems, we still see a lot of biodiversity in the life that we're seeing. You know, in a prairie, we're not just seeing grass. We're seeing grasses and forbs and sedges, broadleaf brassicas, small trees, woody perennials. When we go to the forest, even if it's a pine forest, we're seeing ferns, we're seeing cedars, and we're seeing conifers, not just singular varietal, right? And then the last thing that we want to talk about for soil health is to maximize continuous living roots. And that's really what I'm going to be talking a lot about here today. So maximizing continuous living roots essentially just means leaving your roots in the ground. And that might seem like a dirty word, especially as we're getting into fall and many of you are starting to think about cleaning up your gardens, right? So when we think about our gardens in the fall, we might think of a lot of different things. We might think about like fall crops, like our cole crops. We might be thinking about mums. We might be thinking about mulching our beds so that we can protect them over the winter. We might be thinking about just cleaning up the debris that we have left over, right? Like pulling out that corn, getting rid of that blossom end rot tomato. The big thing that many people think about in the fall is what? It starts with an L. Ends with an eaves, right? When you think about cleaning up leaves. But I am here to dispel that myth. That's right. You shake your head no. Absolutely. We want to leave the leaves. Why do we want to leave all of those leaves and all of that plant matter? We want to leave it because during the winter, soil microbes are out there under the ground scavenging for food. And those microbes hang out in root structures. So here in this picture, we see these roots, right? And we see these tiny little nodules here. And then down here, the roots get finer and finer. And then we see sort of like a cloud around it, okay? So the nodules are packets of nitrogen that the roots are putting back into the soil. And this filament, this cloud here, that is soil aggregate. So essentially it's a glue that the roots, I'm sorry, root aggregates that the roots are putting out, which is communication fluid to the microbes. And we can't see the microbes, they're just hanging out here. And the microbes are coming in and out and they're saying to these roots, hey, I could use a little sugar. I just have a sweet tooth today. And then the roots say, oh, cool. Here's some sugar. And the roots will actually give those microbes a little more sugar. And then the roots will say to the microbes, hey, it's been really, really cloudy lately. Could you give me some carbon? I could really use some carbon. And then the microbes are like, got it, partner. And then they go out and they get carbon and they actually bring it back. Because our soil systems have a lot of the nutrients that our plants need already there. They're just not in a form that the plants can use. So plants take up nutrients in a liquid form, not in a solid form. So those microbes that are swimming around, living in the root structures are actually excreting the nutrients that our plants need. So it's a symbiotic relationship between the microbes in the soil and the root structures in our plants. And when we take out those roots in the fall, we're taking out the food for our microbes. And if our microbes don't have any food, first, what they're going to do is they're going to scavenge the leftover nutrients that are hanging out in the soil that weren't used, and then they might skedaddle to go find more food somewhere else. So essentially what's happened is that come spring, you will have no nutrients left in your soil. Which is why, what do we often do in the spring when we're getting ready to plant? Yeah, we throw fertilizer down, okay? But unfortunately, what we're doing is when we fertilize, we're just giving our plants food. We're not often giving our soil food. So we really want to focus in on feeding those microbes. And we do that by understanding that the microbe system is very much like our human system. We need a variety of nutrients to be successful, just like the soil needs a variety of nutrients to be successful. We want to think about feeding our soils and feeding those microbes rather than feeding our plants. And this is how we can do it. Okay, we put our fertilizers into the soil, right? We are feeding our plants. But really, when our plants are healthy, what's happening is that our plants are feeding the microbes. And the ideal microbial diet is actually a carbon to nitrogen ratio of 24:1. What the heck does that mean? Right? What in the hell? How are you supposed to take that information and make it work for you? Essentially, we make that work for us by thinking about what it is that we're feeding our soil. Are we leaving leaf debris on our soil? Are we mulching with wood chips? Those are really high carbon materials that turn into soil organic matter. Are we giving our soils grass clippings? Are we giving our soils straight up manure? Very low carbon to nitrogen ratio. So very high nitrogen, right? So when we look at this list, and I just include this list because a lot of people have lots of ideas about the ways in which they improve their soils throughout the year, right? I know a lot of people who come up and they say to me, oh, I've got this neighbor who has got the most beautiful old manure, and he said that I could have it for free. So I'm gonna get it and it's gonna be amazing. What's the problem with just getting a manure from a friend? Does anybody know? I can't hear.
Old manure composted.
Right, it's not composted, it's just manure. And even if it's old manure, if it doesn't go through that full composting process, what you're essentially getting is a medium to grow weeds in. Because all of the weeds that animal ever ate goes through its digestive system, does not get digested, gets excreted out the back, and is just waiting to invade your garden. Okay, so when you guys are thinking about utilizing fertilizers, utilizing mulches, starts me thinking about that carbon to nitrogen ratio. Wheat straw, which is something that I utilize as a mulch, has an 80:1 carbon to nitrogen ratio, which essentially means is when we think about that super high carbon number, that just means that it's going to take a long time to break down, to biodegrade. So it's a great mulch. It's wonderful, but it's also really high in carbon. And so that might throw the balance off on my carbon to nitrogen ratio over the winter, which is why it's really great to use a high carbon mulch in a bed where you're doing lots of nitrogen fixing growing. For instance, what's a nitrogen fixing plant?
Beans.
Yeah, beans, your legume family. Beans, peas, soybeans. Alfalfa. Clovers. So when you start thinking about how you are growing, what bed you are growing in, what your crop rotation looks like, I like to make it nice and more complicated for you so that not only are you thinking about who's a heavy feeder, what family does this belong to, but also how is this working with my soil microbes? Is it complementing or detracting from what I'm trying to do here? Okay. So let's review a little bit, because I have introduced an insane amount of information in a very short amount of time. Our soil health principles. Essentially, what we want to do is minimize disturbance. And why would we want to minimize disturbance, by the way? Because I bet I'm looking at a sea of pro-tillage here. No?
I minimize, I don't.
All right. I know it's lovely. Smell of the earth early in the spring. Nice and fluffy.
Turning up all those seeds.
That's right, you are. You're just tilling up all those beet seeds. What's your question?
Yes, tell me why not to till, because my husband is a tilling freak. Don't till, so it's not enough just for weed seeds.
It is stirring up weed seeds, absolutely. So, your weed seeds aren't gonna grow unless they get what? Sunlight and water, right? And if they're 6 inches below the ground, they're never gonna see that sun. So you don't even have to worry about a really big rain event. However, when you're tilling, you're bringing those weed seeds higher up. Yeah.
Okay, so he thinks he's gonna break up the ground to plant.
Great point, but no. Yeah, your roots are gonna do that for you. Roots are strong. They're gonna break through that soil, even if you do have a level of compaction that feels a little overwhelming. I know where I farm, I'm in a heavy clay soil. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, I wanna grow carrots or I wanna grow potatoes, or I wanna grow really big beets, and I can't do that in a heavy clay soil. But you absolutely can, because those plants are meant to grow slowly through that soil. But the more soil organic matter that you have in your soils, the more likely it is that you're gonna have lots of air pockets, lots of pathways for those for those roots to come through. And you're gonna be having with high soil organic matter, and by soil organic matter, what am I talking about? It's not as complicated as you think. Soil organic matter.
We're talking about leaves.
These are soil organic matter, absolutely, yeah. Plants, roots, absolutely. It's any organic material that slowly decomposes. Right? And in some instances, you can build it without organic material, like cardboard.
Yeah.
And the pulp, egg cartons and newspaper. Okay? Anything that can decompose over time. So the reason why we want to minimize that disturbance is tillage actually increases compaction because, okay, yeah, write it down. Tillage increases compaction because the finer we make our soils, the more, the less, space there is between the particles. And the less space there is between the particles, the more likely it is to get smooshed together every single time someone walks on it, every single time there's a rain, and not even a big rain. Every single raindrop is like a small explosion to tiny, fine soil particles.
They fit together easier.
Yeah, they fit together easy, like pieces of a puzzle. And soil organic matter doesn't allow that to happen. Soil organic matter brings in microbes and it creates an environment where the soil is going to have better till, which is just a fun word that doesn't really roll off the tongue. And that till is essentially a description of the soil's ability to maintain its soil aggregate structure. And that aggregate structure keeps it from eroding, it keeps it from compacting, and it holds space for those microbes. Yes.
What if you're working in a garden and the soil is already compacted? What do you do?
That's a great question. If you're working in a garden and the soil is already compacted, for instance, if you're like reclaiming lands to create a garden, I do that all the time. The first thing I do is rather than dig into the garden, I just build on top of it. So some people have really great luck with an initial tillage. They'll till it once to set up their beds and then they move forward after that. Like they don't buy a tiller, they just rent a tiller and they till out their beds once. And then they add soil organic matter like leaves and straw and composted manure, or even certain mulches. But I would say like, if you're dealing with compaction as a serious issue, right, raising that soil organic matter over time is going to be the best thing that you possibly can do. Because over time, all of that decomposing matter on top of the ground is going to eventually begin to join with that soil profile through the work of the microscopic organisms that are doing their job under the ground, as well as by the roots of the plants that you're planting. So if you put a seed into compost that's sitting on top of the soil profile, that seed is going to grow down, taking that compost with it. Does that make sense? So eventually you're not going to have a soil profile and that soil organic matter that's on top of it, because that's another misnomer. A lot of people think that if you're going to add some sort of soil organic matter, like a fertilizer or a compost, that you have to till it in. No, you don't have to do that. Okay, it will go in. Right, so, we wanna maximize our soil cover, we do that through mulches, through companion planting, through, utilizing cover crops. We wanna maximize our biodiversity, because again, the more plants that we have, the more animals that we're gonna draw in. And by animals, I'm not necessarily talking about the neighborhood cats and the raccoons who like to eat your plants, right? I'm talking about the small creeper crawlies that are gonna do really heavy lifting in your garden. Okay, so here's a lot of words for a PowerPoint. In the soil, there are 1,000 to 2,000 times more microbes associated with roots than are living in bare or tilled soil. Okay, the microbes in turn build that soil organic matter, and they store soil nutrients, and those soil nutrients feed the plants. So living roots in the ground and plant materials on top of the soil are giving valuable food to microbes, creating soil organic matter, which provides nutrients to plants. Without food to eat, microbes will scavenge what's available in the soil alone, depleting the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium required by plants to survive. And this is why freshly tilled soil produces strong plants initially, but then have to be amended year after year because there's no food for the microbes to eat. So when we feed our plants, what we're essentially doing is giving it's akin to like taking a shot of espresso or drinking a can of Coke, right? Like it gives us energy in the moment, but it's not sustained, and it's certainly not going to last us the rest of the day. Okay, so how do we feed these very hungry microbes? We keep roots in the ground, we keep our soils covered, and we plant lots of plants to maximize biodiversity. And here's where we're going to start talking about cover crops. Oops. So who's familiar with cover crops? Okay, who wants to take a guess about what a cover crop is or what they've heard about cover crops? No.
It puts energy back into the soil.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a plant that puts energy back into the soil. It's not a cash crop. We generally don't harvest them to feed anything. Though some cover crops can be used to feed animals as forages. But generally, when we're talking about utilizing a cover crop in a fruit and vegetable garden or an orchard, we're talking about crops that we do not harvest, that instead are feeding the soil, not the humans. Okay, so those cover crops can be used in small scale, just like they're used in large scale. So I know that we're in an urban hub here, but when you drive out into the country and it's February and you see green fields, that's cover crops. It's winter wheat. Okay, and what those cover crops do is they have living roots in the ground. They cover the soil. They're feeding the microbes over the winter, and they're offering biodiversity both on top of the soil and below the soil. Plus, those cover crop roots are holding the soil in place so that when we do get humongous rains in the spring like we had this year, that soil isn't washing in the field, off the fields and into the culverts and then into the streams and then into the river and then down to the Gulf of Mexico, where it's just turning into sludge, essentially. Okay,
So
yes,
with the cover crop, instead of tilling it in the beginning of the year, you mow it down. If you got a small plot of land, I guess, or how else would you handle it?
great question. Termination strategy is a big part of soil or cover crop success. So some cover crops, like this handy dandy oat and pea mix that you can come collect for free to try afterwards, is winter kill. So you plant it right now, technically between August and October, you let it do its thing, and then when we get a killing frost, it dies. Then what you have is a lot of organic material on top of the soil because of the oats, right? Oats are a grass. They are made to grow up tall. They have high biomass and they create a living mulch that you can utilize as a mulch in your garden and transplant right into it. Or you can rake it off into your pathways to suppress weeds. Or you can take it off and compost it. This is very crazy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just moving around too much. Here, yeah,
So like in a raised garden bed situation, that would be good to replenish your mixture. That's like replenish. So in the spring, so you would recommend not tilling?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've got your soil covered. And you can just plant right into it. Now, depending on the type of cover crop you use, that's definitely going to affect what you want to plant after it. So I'll just jump ahead here. Okay, oats. So in the late summer, they look like this. And in the spring, they look like this. All right. Here is early spring oats and radishes under some overwintered kale. Here is a cereal rye that has been crimped and tarped. And this is early spring and they're planting right into it. But notice they raked little rows here for smaller seeds. So I wouldn't if you are gonna be planting in an area, and you're gonna do like a salad mix or maybe celery or oregano or something with very, very small seeds, then I wouldn't recommend utilizing a cover crop that has super high biomass. Because your seeds aren't gonna be able to compete with it, especially with regard to something like, say, cereal rye, which has allelopathic properties, which is great for weed suppression, but very bad for seed germination. Does that make sense?
Here's an off the wall.
Yep.
When I was living in Georgia in early spring, all my neighbors would burn off their Bermuda grass.
Mhm.
Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Burning is another great way that we can harness the power of carbon in our soils. It's a great way to manage grassy areas. It's a great way to manage your pollinator plots. And it's a great way to prep for new beds. It's also beyond my skill set. I've never done it before, so I don't have a lot of confidence in talking about it. Gina, have you done a burn?
I've been at burns. He's a firefighter, he's a retired firefighter, he should know how to do this.
I've been in a lot of birds like that too.
Yeah.
Some of them were intentional, they got out of hand. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of small farmers up in my area, of Illinois, were burning stuff off the ground.
yeah, burning is appropriate as well. Yeah,
Got two questions from Zoom. Holly says that she's heard that nematodes can be helpful. Any advice for using beneficial nematodes?
beneficial nematodes are a great way to fight parasitic nematodes. And your nematodes, when we think about like the microbes in soil, what we're talking about is three specific families. We're talking about bacteria, we're talking about fungi, and we're talking about nematodes. And that's another reason why we wouldn't use something that comes out of a bag to help our soil. So like, obviously, lots of people have problems with pests, right? And so they'll use an herbicide or a pesticide. But unfortunately, when we're killing those pests we don't like, we're also killing the life that we do like. Beneficial nematodes are great, though I would say that rather than buying them, cultivate a healthy soil so that it's a great environment for them to live in and they will proliferate on their own.
And then Carrie says, any recommendations for cover crops that could potentially outgrow bindweed?
Or slow it down.
Well, if I had the answer to that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, bindweed's tough. I'd say a long-term strategy would be a cereal rye that gets crimped in May or June when it's at its milk stage. Then and have it be strongly seeded or something with high biomass like sorghum Sudan grass or sun hemp. But this is not something that you can use in a, like, for a crop that's gonna be 120 days. Because you're not even putting anything into the ground until after you terminate your cover crop, and then you have to tarp your cover crop, and then you put your plants into the ground. So I'd say, with bindweed, who's had any luck? Anyone? Okay, Carrie, no one is raising their hand. Yes.
The only thing that I've found that helped me with bindweed in my yard is getting a giant tarp and tarping my yard for 2 years.
Wow.
And all that did was slow it down.
And all that did was slow it down. Okay. Yeah. Pull it out, dig it out. Curse the person.
I have a grandpa that likes it, so.
Maybe some goats,
Yeah.
renting some goats.
That's what
What do you mean by crimping?
Crimping, yeah, crimping, great question, sorry for the vocab usage. So crimping is essentially terminating a cover crop without killing the roots. All you're doing is knocking it down at a 90-degree angle, which will stop its upward growth, but won't stop its root growth right away. So that leaves a thick mat of plant material on top of the soil that you can transplant into. Again, it's a very thick one, so it's something that's best used with, transplanting squashes, melons, or nightshades.
Where do you get seeds for cover crops? Cause I've always wanted to do that, like, maybe October or something like that. Can't find it anywhere.
Great question. I go on the internet.
Like I've heard that buckwheat is a good cover.
Buckwheat's a great cover crop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can certainly get some from the internet, like I said, but your local feed stores, like your feed-in seeds, will have cover crop. I would just recommend making sure that you do your due diligence on the variety, because, for instance, like if you said to the guy, like, I want some peas for a cover crop. Well, there's a wide variety of peas bred for a lot of different things. And yeah, if you're looking for a legume that's going to fix nitrogen, peas are a great cover crop, but some peas will overwinter. Some peas are only good in the summer. So you want to make sure that you know what variety you're looking for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Myra on Zoom says, can you talk about carbon sequestration with regenerative farming? This approach improves crop yields, water retention, and biodiversity too. Also, how do you feel about solar panels and farm field? I know it's a hot potato, but just curious how you feel about it.
Okay, so hot potatoes. I can't say definitively on one side or the other how I feel about the solar fields. I think there are a lot of positives, like, renewable energy is a good thing, but then in the negative, well, what do we do with those panels when they're done? In the positive, oh, people are utilizing sheep to graze underneath them. In the negative, a lot of them are just using gravel. In the positive, it's bringing jobs to areas where we need jobs. In the negative, a lot of that solar energy isn't staying in the area that they're being produced. It's going somewhere far away. Positive, it's bringing economy to small rural areas. Negative, yeah, they're usually foreign owned. I don't know. It's a good question. I think every solar project is probably unique to that area. And it's important that, if anyone is interested in, going to their, local communities and learning more, that they get all the information. Because there seem like, any topic where people have immediate strong reactions, usually there's more to the story, right? Then as far as carbon sequestration, great question. Cover crops sequester carbon. And what in the world is sequestering carbon? So essentially what sequestering carbon is taking carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it in the ground and letting our plants utilize it. If we have roots in the ground all 4 seasons out of the year, we have plants growing, albeit quietly and sometimes under the snow. What we're doing is we're creating an environment for carbon to be sequestered under the soil. And I would assume that Myra is talking about the practice of carbon sequestration and getting maybe paid to do that.
She just has the regenerative farming.
Yeah, it's a significantly ecological practice, absolutely. There are a lot of ways and small ways that we can change our practices to be more in harmony with nature, to essentially like offset that carbon footprint that many of us have living our modern lifestyles. And farming according to soil health principles is one of those things. Absolutely. Listening to the land and working with it rather than against it is another thing that a lot of us can work towards. I know that as humans, we often think that we're pretty cool because we're the top of the food chain, right? We're the best predators. And when we talk about when we talk about the soil food web, what we're talking about is the various ways in which we have food, something eats that food, something bigger eats that thing that eats that food, something even bigger than that eats that, and then there's us, right? But at the end of the day, we don't get to eat unless the tiniest things are taken care of, right? And through regenerative agriculture and through working towards soil health principles on our own land, that is going to be easier and easier. Rather than killing things to make our food grow, we are farming to create life in a wide variety. You know, yeah, if you put down wood chips, you're gonna have a slug issue. But if you have a slug issue, what else are you gonna have? Besides ruined lettuces. Right? Lizards, absolutely. What? Well, sometimes gophers too, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But what we're striving for is that balance. Because anytime we get out of balance, that's when we see that huge influx of predation, right? When we have a monocrop, for instance, then if something eats that one crop, boy, we're in big trouble, right? But if we have more than one crop, if we're growing with diversity, then we're gonna have not only maybe some pests that get that one crop, but we're also gonna have things that eat that pest, right? Like for instance, you guys are all familiar with tomato hornworm, right? Those big succulent turds that are just
Yeah.
eating our tomato plants to death. How do you get rid of them besides picking them off and feeding them to your chickens?
Parasitoid wasps.
Parasitoid wasp. How do you get a parasitoid wasp to come to your tomato plant?
They just showed up.
Lucky you. Or you can be a little more intentional and plant sweet alyssum.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Alyssum,
Sweet.
which is lovely, and you just undersow it with your tomatoes, and that brings the parasitoid wasp to your tomato row. So there are, you know, of course, little things that you can do to improve your growth. But again, like that's under that soil health principle, biodiversity, right? We're not just growing tomatoes, we're growing tomatoes and sweet alyssum. Throw in some marigolds as well, maybe some nasturtium. Why not add a little basil and dill and garlic and green onions? Because now we've got a host of habitat to create an ecosystem that's going to bring in beneficial insects that are going to handle those predatory insects that are maybe not so beneficial to our food. Okay. Yeah, so it's the circle of life. And it moves us all, right? So essentially, I want to just try to stay on time here because I know I'm running out of time. We're not looking for pristine growing spaces and garden perfection. I know it feels really good. But that's not how nature works, right? Nature is a tangly, insane, crazy mess. And so even though we love our weed-free, you know, perfectly linear lines of tomatoes and cucumbers and squash, at the end of the day, what we're really creating is habitat. We're creating habitat for a wide variety of foods. Foods for us, foods for the creepy crawlies, foods for the birds, right? And when we've got birds, we get bigger birds. And when we have bigger birds, we get bigger birds. And then before you know it, there's a bald eagle in your backyard. And then you can't cut down any trees. So what we're working towards is a growing season that's going to draw beneficial insects, right? And it doesn't make any sense that once we get those beneficial insects into our garbage, finally, biodiversity, that we would rip out their winter homes. Right when it gets really, really cold outside, okay? So a good rule of thumb is to leave it all. If you have to remove something, like if you have some diseased plants, rather than ripping the whole thing out, just cut it right at the soil level, maybe a little bit below, then get rid of that diseased plant. Don't compost it, because unless you are a really amazing composter, most likely you're not getting to that temperature point and that thermophilic process where you're gonna kill those pathogens. But leave the roots in the ground, leave the leaves, even the weeds. Does that make sense? I know nobody wants to hear that. All right, yeah.
How do you do the cover crop? Or is that considered your cover?
That's part of your cover crop, yeah, so, like, for instance, right now, I'm sure everybody has plenty of tomatoes, okay? And, oh, sorry, the question was, is the plant residue a cover crop? And technically, it is not a cover crop, because you're not growing it specifically to cover, to have roots in the ground, but it does cover, and it is a crop. Okay, so it's certainly doing the job. It's keeping our soils covered, it's creating biodiversity, it's minimizing disturbance because we're not ripping roots out of the ground. And it is covering our soils. So yeah, 4 out of 4 for sure. But you can undersow cover crops in your crop right now. So if you've got your tomatoes, you've got your peppers, I think peppers are probably coming on really strong right now. But, you know, in 2 months, that's all gonna be bye-bye, right? However, you can undersow right now your cover crop into your tomatoes, into your peppers, into your squash, whatever. Woo, what did I do? There it is. I'm flailing, sorry. And those cover crops are not going to outcompete your already mature plants. Does that make sense? As long as you're choosing the correct cover crop. So for instance, right now, good stuff to grow. You're ready.
What is your oats?
Your oats and peas, absolutely, because it's a winter kill cover crop. You don't have to worry about a termination strategy in the spring. Buckwheat. Buckwheat goes from seed to flower in 45 days. This is the perfect time for buckwheat because it won't get a chance to reseed itself. Hopefully. Yeah.
That's the mash brown or
I can't hear you.
how have you planted?
Great question. It depends on the type, it depends on the cover crop. So for the oats and peas mix that I'm giving to you all, you can broadcast it if you want. That's what I do. I usually wait till I know I'm gonna get a good rain and then I'll just broadcast it. I try to do it at night because I don't want the birds to come in and have a feast on my cover crops. Or my chickens, they love a good cover crop. But you could certainly like, how many of you guys farm or garden with an earthway seeder? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Broadcasting is fine. That's what I do. I literally only broadcast with cover crops. If you are interested in having a cover crop in the spring that you have to terminate, that you have to get rid of, clover works really well. White clover, red clover, crimson clover, all wonderful and easily mowed down. It's a great legume. It fixes into the nitrogen in the soil. I love using clover in my orchards because then I don't have to mow around trees. Hooray. Plus the bees love that. It's also possible to utilize a cover crop that you're just utilizing in a fallow area. So if you have enough space that you can give some up to a cover crop for a whole season, try something like a sorghum Sudan grass. As long as, I guess like your, what zoning, what do they call that? The zoning people don't come by and give you a ticket for overgrown yards. But sorghum Sudan grass is like a 7-foot tall grass that will give you lots and lots of biomass at the end of the year, and it's also winter kill, but it takes a long time to get that tall. It's also good forage if you're feeding cattle. Yeah,
Do you do this with perennial beds in any way?
absolutely, yeah. I utilize cover crops and perennial beds as well. Yeah, but it really just kind of depends on what kind of perennial we're talking about. Like, I'll use clover in my like berry areas for raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries. And I'll utilize a winter kill one, so it's just natural mulch. But I wouldn't use something like trying to think here. I wouldn't use something like sun hemp because that needs to be terminated. It gets really big. It's hard to get in there to terminate effectively. Because part of that termination strategy sometimes is you have to crimp it and then you have to tarp it. And you have to tarp for at least 25 days. So we don't want to make it harder on you. We want to make it easier. And that's why I love that oat and pea mix, because you just toss it out there and it does its thing. And even if you don't get great germination, that doesn't mean it's not doing something. As long as you see something above ground, that means stuff is happening below. So I wanted to show you guys this lovely chart here. And you can't see it from where you're sitting. So it's super helpful. But it's a cover crop chart for when cover crops do best in Indiana. And it's specific to Indiana, and you can find this on our website, or you can find it if you Google seeding windows, cover crops, Indiana. And there's a lot of different crops on here. So there's winter barley, buckwheat, balsamic clover, berseem clover, crimson clover, red clover, collards, cowpeas, soybeans, flax, kale, Japanese or pearl millet, oats. There's spring oats, and then there's black oats, different oats. Peas, there's field peas, there's spring peas, there's winter peas. Phacelia, oilseed radish, rapeseed, winter cereal rye, annual ryegrass. I gotta plant annual ryegrass.
Yeah.
Never, ever plant annual ryegrass. You'll never get rid of it.
Yeah.
Sorghum Sudan grass, soybeans, sunflower, sun hemp, teff, triticale, turnips, hairy vetch. Don't plant
Yeah.
winter wheat and spelt. Okay, some of these are great crops for larger scale producers who have the machinery to terminate it. Some of them are wonderful for small scale growers where they don't get out of hand, and you can terminate with a weed whacker, you can terminate with the weather, or you can terminate just with a mower. Okay. All right. So this is a small market farm with cover crops. The green is spring oats. The gray, oh my gosh, the yellow is oat, well, I don't think they were, it looks like cereal rye. So that is wonderful. I mean, look at the trees in the background. There are no leaves on those trees. So your spring oats come up really, really early. So if you wanted to utilize spring oats, you would have to terminate it. So that's another thing to keep in consideration when you're thinking about cover crops. Do you want to challenge yourself further to try to get a crop of cover crops in before your main season crop. Which is why, again, I really like the winter kill ones, because it doesn't slow me down in the spring. However, midsummer with a buckwheat, that's amazing. Even midsummer with peas and oats is amazing. Okay, so soils covered equals fewer weeds and it equals less watering because it's being utilized as mulch. So you can transplant into a terminated cover crop. It reduces weed pressure, it warms the soil in the spring and it keeps soils cool in the summer. It maintains moisture, so you don't need to water as often, and it prevents the erosion of topsoil. The only real struggle is timing. We already looked at this one, but again, the oats and peas are a reliable cool season annual cover crop in the vegetable garden. It's going to do well, no matter what. Doesn't take work. Well, it takes a little work, right? You have to put it on the soil, get good seed to soil contact. You gotta water it until it comes up and then you can let it go. Okay, and so I just wanted to show you, so before I just blasted through this, but this is cover crop underseeded in kale. Okay, radish and oats that somebody put in. Again, if you look in the background, there's no leaves on those trees, so I think this was overwintered kale, and that's spring oats and radishes. And planting into cover crop residue. And then this is the Indiana cover crop table for small farms and gardens, which tells you not only what the cover crop is, and you can also find this on our website, urbansoilhealth.org, but the type, whether it's a legume or a grass. It can tell you when its life cycle begins and ends. It can tell you if it's expected for winter survival. Because some of your radishes will survive over winter. I had some pop up this year, which really surprised me. And then in some termination methods, freezing, tillage, mow or cut, crimp and tarp, how tall it gets, and the carbon to nitrogen ratio at maturity. So if you're looking for that special 24:1, annual ryegrass. Don't plant annual ryegrass. Okay, and that's more of it. Then Kevin Allison at the Marion County Soil and Water Conservation District, he's amazing. He put together his favorite no-till garden cover crop mixes. And cover crops are a really great way to transition from a tillage system into a low-till or no-till system. Because you can plant right into it. It is decomposed soil organic matter just sitting there, waiting to take your seeds, waiting to create a great spot for germination. So you don't have to till to get your seeds in the ground. Okay. What more questions do you all have?
So it makes more sense to cut your tomato plants off than to pull them all out,
Correct.
to leave the roots in there.
Yes.
Then another question. You see a lot of people on the internet, God love the internet. You see a lot of people out there complaining about when they establish new raised beds with bag soil, that they have a poor crop or no crop the first year. Now is that, I'm telling them that it's because there is no microbes in there, none of that stuff is in there, and it takes a while for that stuff to
Absolutely.
grow.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So I'm giving them decent information.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but that brings up a really good point. People who are building new beds, in like a raised bed system that's built, a permanent built system, I would definitely recommend staying away from topsoil.
No, never stops.
It's nothing.
It's dead.
It's dead. It's dirt. Dirt is dead. Soil is alive.
I mean, there's nice raised bed packages you can get.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've used them, like there's one in, Home Depot I've used for like 2 or 3 years. It's been great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, your team is gonna be going away. What about this website?
Website's gonna stay. And we're still going to be doing some outreach activities, for sure.
Okay, so if I wanted to share information with people, I can share this information.
Absolutely. Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I live on a tiny lot and I use the raised, I use raised beds for what I do grow. But every year, of course, it goes down some. After you don't cut you just cut off instead of removing roots, maybe have a cover crop. When do I build it back up so that I'm not constantly getting lower and lower into the raised bed? And do I do that in the spring or not in the spring, but before I put on your seeds? In the fall, or do I wait till the spring after the cover crop has come?
Totally up to you. So I like, when I'm working with raised beds in a permanent structure that are built, and I start to see that soil settle in, I like to top off with a leaf-based compost. Yeah, not a manure-based compost. And the reason why I suggest a leaf-based compost is because that leaf-based compost is going to be lower in nutrient load, even though you want lots of nutrients, right? And that's what we get from manure. But over time, if we're continuing to add maybe an inch or sometimes even 2 inches to our boxes, what that's going to do is raise our pH over time because of that high phosphorus. Okay, so leaves, newspapers, cardboard, plant-based composts. I source mine from just like a landscaping company. Fully mediocre product, like nothing magical, but it works great as just a little topper. I just top off my beds with it and I plant right into that. Yeah.
I'm still dealing with this not disturbing the soil. If I wanna set out a tomato plant, I've gotta dig a hole to get those roots and lay it down a little bit. Or if I wanna plant or grow a green bean, I've gotta have some soil to cover it about an inch deep or lettuce. So do I just dig one little hole for a tomato plant and don't disturb the rest of it? Or do I do a row where I'm going to be planting my beans, rototill that and not the whole thing?
That is ideal. I don't even dig a hole. I start my transplant on top of the soil and I just mound up compost around it. This little volcano of tomato. And then I have to be really careful and I mulch it very heavily with straw to keep it in place, to maintain that water and to also encourage growth. But yeah, you can totally dig in the soil. I'm not saying you can't dig in the soil. It's good to dig in the soil. It feels good, right? It's good for our souls. But there's no need to till up an entire garden if you're only gonna be planting every 2 feet, right? Yeah.
Jessica on Zoom asked, any recommendations for tons of roly-polies in garden beds? Great for breaking down organic matter, but they're eating all my seedlings too. How do we get them back in balance?
Great question. Usually those roly-polies are around when you have a lot of woody organic matter. So maybe if she's got, say, like wood chips or higher carbon mulches in her beds to rake those away from the plants. But more bluebird boxes are good too. Does anyone else have a roly-poly fix? Hands go down.
Problems with that. She says she's following up, no wood chips, pine straw mulch.
Okay, so maybe pull that straw mulch back a little bit. But I mean, I have lots of roly-polies, but I don't have them eating my. Or maybe I'm just not paying attention. It's a good question. Yeah.
Where we go back in straw mulch, it's not policy.
Great question. Knowing your grower is always helpful. However, if you are really great at planning, I like to buy my straw a season before I need it and let it rot. That way, if it sprouts, it sprouts. And then it sprouts and it dies. And then when I'm ready to use it, it's not going to be growing wheat in my garden bed. I leave it out. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the good things about living in the country. Nobody complains about like stacks of folding straw. I saw one in the back, yeah.
Should that, cover as my soil has gone down. Okay,
Yeah,
how do I, sort of what I should do? For, cover.
okay, yeah, good question.
I have chip from trees that I can, mulch in there,
Mhm.
but, how deep do I go?
It doesn't matter,
It-
as deep as you want it.
Yeah.
It essentially depends on what you're gonna grow, right? So if you're gonna have a bed full of, lettuces, tomatoes, cucumbers, you don't need a really super deep bed, right? Cause it's just gonna go down into that soil profile. But if you are planning on growing something that's, maybe like carrots or potatoes or parsnips or turnips, then think about, maybe having it at least 10 inches deep. And you're talking about in raised bed boxes, right? Yeah, about 10 inches, 12 inches.
Part of it is flowers,
Mhm.
flower garden, about that.
Flowers are fine. You don't have to really worry about it as much. Cause, are you talking annuals or perennials?
Perennials.
Okay, so the perennials they're gonna be there for year after year, so they're just gonna go down into that soil profile anywhere and make a happy home with their root structure in your native soil, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Am I not answering your question? I feel like I'm
I
not.
mean, like if my soil's gone down halfway,
Uh-huh,
so I have this much. Depth, like with all that,
Same question.
leaves and mulch.
yeah, sure, and it'll break down over the winter time. If you do it in the fall, it'll break down over the winter and then you can plant right into it.
Okay.
Like, especially if you put in like, leaves and mulch and, straw and newspaper and cardboard. By spring, a lot of that will be decomposed and you might wanna just like toss in, like a rich composted material and then plant right into that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry it took so long for me to understand you.
When you're talking about cardboard and straw and mulch, where is the cardboard in this design?
Great question. A lot of people utilize the cardboard as close to the ground as possible because it's gonna take the longest to decompose. And having lots of organic matter on top of that is gonna keep it nice and moist so that it does decompose faster. So I'll pick one up front. Yeah.
If all these leaves that we're gonna use to compost them. I presume that you want them cut up. I mean, I have some cottonwood trees with these giant leaves, and I can't imagine putting them as is.
Well, it kind of depends on how much microbial activity you have going on in your garden, because the more microbial activity you have, the faster those are gonna decompose. So if you wanna shred it by running a mower over it, that's fine. Or only utilizing, like, if you have say, piles of leaves that you harvest from, just using those leaves from the bottom of the pile that have already begun to decompose a little bit. But yeah, you can just run a mower right over it.
Thank you.
No problem. Other questions?
All right. All right, well, thank you, Megan. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Calling the meeting to order. It is 7:57. Sorry, what is it doing now?
This way, move it a little bit. There you go.
Okay, minutes were approved. Now it's, your turn.
No, minutes have
No,
not been
minutes have
approved.
not been approved. These, okay, the minutes.
The minutes from the last meeting were published.
See what I'm saying?
I know, this is not good. Right, so the minutes were approved or at least published in the last Sunnyside Times. Okay. We just need to get them approved. Jane first. Moved.
Melody.
Melody, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
That's not me.
No, it's not you.
Okay,
All right, thank you for that. Next up is our wonderful treasurer, Mike.
What?
Wonderful.
Okay, if you remember last week or last month, we had a grand total of $15 coming in. We did a little better this month. So. Yeah, that's it. We had $74 from the Kroger rewards, and we had $3,300 that came in on the Tomato Festival, which was a really good day, hot day. It was a good day. The day, this includes all the book sales for the month too. So some of it was before the Tomato Festival, some after. The day we collected right at $3,000 that day. And that's 46% increase over the first year. So year two, we did a good job, and Diane, through Diane's leadership and everything went real well. For disbursements, thank you. Okay. We had a miscellaneous credit expense. I got some money back that shouldn't have gone out to the bank, took it, and I got it back. The office expense there, that is a 6-month charge for the lockbox. That's the last month. This is the last cycle. We're gonna renew the lockbox as of basically the first of the year. Everything goes to Purdue. All of our legal stuff goes to Purdue anyway. Lockbox is kind of a pain and waste of time to go up and check it, empty box all the time. So everything will be at Purdue, and you can send your dues there also if you want, or I'll take it. So either way. We had program expense last month of $75. Farmers market seed saver totaled $130, and then we had Tomato Festival expense about $350. At this point with Tomato Festival, which includes all the cookbook sales, we're right about $3,100 up for the year. Now we'll have some more Tomato Festival expenses and probably some more book sales, so it's a real good event for one day's work. Our ending cash balance is $26,205. We started in January with $24,365, so we're up. We've got most of the project expenses, which haven't been turned in yet. But the way things are going, anticipating the dues coming in and the wreath class, all such as that, we should end up with about, it's hard to say, but low end be 26,000. We could be $28,000 net for the year. So any questions on the financial report? Okay, I got one other thing to talk about. For those of you who read the board minutes that Kim sent out, and for those of you who haven't read it, the board voted a month ago to change our financial institution. We just weren't getting the service and the things we needed from PNC Bank. We did a due diligence with a couple institutions. We decided to go with Central Credit Union. Those of you who aren't familiar with Centra, they're about $2.2 billion in assets. They're basically, they started out up in Columbus, Ohio, Indiana. It was the Cummins diesel people up there. And then they got a community charter over the years, so they're down here. And they gave us what we asked for and a few other things to go with it. So we're real pleased with that. If anybody's got any questions, let me know. Yeah.
Will you still be able to do Zelle?
Yeah, they say we'll be able to do Zelle. We haven't transferred it over yet. We're kind of phasing out PNC, so we got 2 of them open right now. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, next on our list is Diane for the Tomato Festival. Everybody should give her a round of applause because I'm telling you. She is the rock star. She truly is.
All right, no, actually, you should all give yourselves rounds of applauses, because, you know, I've talked to you about Tomato Festival, it takes a village to put a festival on, and Sunnyside Master Gardeners are a great village, okay, so I wanted to basically just thank you all very much for all the time, effort, and generosity. I don't know if you had a chance to look on Facebook, but we have the pictures up, and the booths look beautiful. We have flowers all over the place. You know, there's lots of, I mean, even though it's been a tough gardening year, people were generous, the produce booth looked beautiful and, you know, made, as Mike said, we made more money than last year. We also had, more people, for the community come, we had 400, versus 300, so we're at a nice size, okay, it's always very nice. We were also able to donate, I think 65 pounds of produce to, food pantry after the tomato festival, which is good. And, also important, we had 80 families who, went to the seed saver booth and got seeds for tomato plants planted next year, so we're gonna have some more tomato growers, which is always good. And so I wanna thank you all very, very much for all of your work. It was really great and very, very needed. Also, I want you to mark your calendars, okay? The next, Tomato Festival is August 16th, 2026.
How many days for that, Diane?
It's 50 weeks. We're 50 weeks away.
She's in a whole different step of politics today. Whole different step.
Okay, so, but, you know, on one hand, that's funny, but on the other hand, we do, you know, need to start planning early, because we have to grow tomatoes. Yes, question.
The 16th of,
August,
that date.
it should be this third Sunday, it should be the third Sunday in August.
Okay,
That's what the yard signs now say, and that's what it's gonna be.
okay.
August 16th.
August 16th, I think they, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, people are double checking me. Okay, so, one of the things we have to start thinking about early is tomatoes, obviously. The taste testing booth requires us to come up with 12 different varieties of tomatoes for people to taste. This year, I think it was the green zebras people really liked. I'm not sure. I've never tasted one. I should probably try it sometime. And so what I'm asking for the tomato growers in this group, because this has been a tough year for tomatoes. If you're growing a tomato that's, you know, a good producer, it's got a good taste, let me know what variety you're producing, because we have to have 12 different varieties for tasting. And I want, you know, I could use suggestions for the group, okay? We go through a process of, you know, sort of process elimination. But we have slicers, we have cherry tomatoes, and we also have, what are those called?
Great.
Sauce.
Sauce, paste, that's it. Okay, the paste ones, okay. So do give me suggestions if you got them.
We have to have ones that are commercially available.
Right, yeah, exactly. We have to be able to get our hands on them. So that's one of the things that, you know, sometimes, it negates a plant because it's hard to get, seeds for. All right, let's see, I think that was it. But again, thank you very much, everybody, because, you know, I think almost everybody participated at some level or other, in making the Tomato Festival a success. But thank you, everybody. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you all.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, next on the list is Elizabeth for another moneymaker for the Christmas wreaths.
Hi,
Hi.
it's me. Yes, I'm here to push the wreath making class on December 6th. Trust me, I'm gonna keep it short. It's getting dark and it was raining when I went out to return a phone call. Yay! Okay. Need volunteers, just like every other event. We cannot do it if we do not have volunteers. This means volunteers to help in the class, greenery. We need stuff. And of course, refreshments. The flyers have already been made. Hold on. They're over here. Jack has already taken reservations, all right? Because I made a horrible one. Kara made this one so much nicer. And sent it out to Jet so she could send to all past participants. We have the email address for. It's already gone to Floyd County to go out in their newsletter. It's gone to Clark County to be put out in their newsletter. We need volunteers. I have sign-up sheets over here. Okay, they do basically tell you the times. We start at 7 a.m. on December 6th. If you are online watching this via Zoom, do not ask me questions. Email me. Okay, so that way I can answer your emails, all right, and give you more specific information. But please come take flyers, put up at work, ask me questions, sign up. I am here. Thanks.
Thank you. She will take your name though, if you want to put your name on the volunteer list from Zoomland. So if you want to volunteer, and we'll put your name on the list. Next up is Kathy in regards to Youth Master Gardeners.
I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all my volunteer. They're, like you said, takes a village and they've been great. But I just told it goes away. I want.
Come this way.
Hello? Okay. I especially wanted to thank, one volunteer and her husband, Lori Dresner and Dave Dresner. We had a terrible problem with the weeds in the aisles this year. They got up like knee high. And, Dave and Lori, without being asked, mowed, weeded, raked and sprayed, and it's made all the difference in the world. It took them over half a day, I'm certain. And it was just a, incredible job, and we're all very grateful, and the students were very grateful. So thank you.
Okay, next up our list is Debbie for Seed Savers. So, hi from Seed Savers. It's that time of year again, so I'm sure a lot of you have some very nice seeds growing in your flower gardens and even some in the vegetable gardens that you could share with us to get out into the community. We did get seeds in 5 different libraries this past year. We had seeds at Pollinator Day, seeds at Tomato Festival. We are completely out of the seeds right now. Our very last seeds were given out at Tomato Festival. We did package it right around 1,000 seeds this year from what you all gave to us. It's a big job, getting them cleaned in the packages, labeled, and then getting them out into the community. So if you have them, if you can drop them at Purdue, that's great. If you need me to come get them, I can do that, if you'll just let me know. We do have a Seed Saver meeting the second Tuesday of September, October, and November. And ideally, if we can have all of your seeds by then, so that we have plenty of time to get them into packages and labeled and sorted and ready to go. So I thank you in advance, and if you can help us out with seeds, that'd be great. Thank you, Debbie. Next on our list is Jeff. Jeff?
Thank you. Tonight is the deadline for our last tour of the year, advanced training tour. It's gonna be next Wednesday, September the 10th. It's the Moss Gibbs Garden at the Parklands of Floyd's Fork in Louisville, long name. But it's at 10,700 Bridge Run Road, and we're gonna meet there at 10 a.m. in the parking lot. Our tour leader will be Tyler Hampton, and the tour is entitled Shade Gardening. So if you have a particular issue with shade, what kind of gardening to do there, please come to this tour. The cost is $5 per person. It's payable this evening. So far, we have 9 signed up, and we're hoping to get several more. So see me after the meeting. Thank you.
All right, you don't have to introduce me. I can do myself.
No, well, I forgot to put Gina on the agenda. She was very upset.
So upset. Terribly upset. I might turn that off.
She didn't reply.
Good point. I like that. I can't find those sweet spots, so I'm not making it, sorry. Okay. Lots of things. I sent out an email about going to Newfields, so I know some of you are going to state conference, some of you aren't. If you want to go to Newfields, which is used to be the Indianapolis Art Museum, I have us a tour booked for 3 hours, so it's an hour tour that's guided. We have an hour blocked for lunch at the art museum, and then it is an hour self-guided. So it'd be 2 hours advanced training. You do not get, hold on. Ooh, fix it. Hold on. Okay, that goes too low down? Oh, well. Okay, here's what. Gina's just gonna yell. I'm just gonna yell. It's okay. I can yell. It's fine. So Newfeld, it's $16 for the tour. I need to know who all wants to go, if any of you do, because I gotta pay the bill. And it's next Friday, not this Friday, the next Friday. So I gotta know. 4th grade goodie bags. I have not put an email out for yet, but it is that time for 4th grade field trip. It is coming up September 17th, 18th, and 19th. We will have just shy of 1,000 students at the fairgrounds over those 3 days, which means we have goodie bags to fill. The problem is I don't have the bags yet to fill, nor do I have all the stuff. So there will be an emergency email that goes out saying we are stuffing bags X date at X time. Any help is greatly appreciated because it's crunch time. If you want to volunteer for 4th grade field trip, please let me know. We have figured out the teachers somehow struggle with the map and figuring out where they're supposed to be at. So we're assigning them a guide. So I need about 14 people per day to be a guide and be assigned to each classroom to help them get from station 1 through station 7 without any lost children or adults. All right. During that time, because I'm a glutton for punishment, and since I'll be at the fairgrounds anyway, I also need to work on the community gardens. So if anybody wants to help clean up the gardens, there's a small forest growing around the fence, the gardens. I will take your help. I don't know which day yet I'm going to do it. It will not be Friday because I have evening plans on Friday. So it'll be either Wednesday or Thursday that I'll be down there from whenever the field trip ends, about 1 o'clock, until I decide I'm done for the day, probably. But I can use help with that. 3rd grade Ag in the Classroom is starting this Thursday at Georgetown. I do need help with that. If you live out that way, we're starting at 8:15. It lasts for an hour. It is a fun time, but I do need some help. Unfortunately, the other 2 people that were supposed to go just got back from Europe, and one of them is very ill and has a busted eardrum. And so I'm in a bit of a dire problem here, but I need some extra bodies. So that's okay. Or Greenville is next Tuesday morning from 8:15 to 9. And some of the schools now don't start until January. So we have some that run it over 6 weeks, starting in January. Some of them don't start till April. We run over 6 weeks. So there are a plethora of opportunities to volunteer with 3rd grade Ag in the Classroom because one school, as I found out, now has 6 3rd grades in it. That'd be Mount Tabor, Barb.
Oh, goody.
6 3rd grade. I don't know why they have so many, but they do.
That's okay. That'll work.
So again, 3rd grade, can always help with that. One other thing, not Speed Saver related, but still speeds, is if you want to help, Angel Jackson with Soil and Water has a bulk bag of, I guess we'll call them floor scraps from a local seed company.
that whatever they had left on the floor from bagging, they sweep up and they sell. So she has this bag, but she needs to repackage it into smaller things like what we give out at Pollinator Day. Not quite the size of what you had tonight, but something else. So we're gonna do that on October 2nd at my office. I need the scoops, I just haven't got that far yet.
Okay.
Yeah, haven't got that far yet. But if you wanna come help, I'll send out more details. There's another volunteer opportunity. And with all those opportunities, means I really need you to submit your volunteer hours. You all, those in Zoom land, whatever, when you submit your hours, right now, this year, volunteer hour is worth just shy of $35 an hour. So every year you all turn in about $250,000 worth of funding. I need that information because I have to go before council next week and say, here's my budget, which I'm asking for $341,000 to run our extension office. If I can say, you all attribute to a third of what you're giving back, a third in the community, I have a much better shot of them not axing my budget and giving me what I want. So I really need you to submit your volunteer hours. It is incredibly important. I know sometimes it's tedious, and I know you all don't do this to get the badges and stuff, but it is really important on my end because every time I go before council, I need to have that number in front of me to show impact. Okay. So that's all I have. And sometimes, depending on what they say about my budget, I might have to ask y'all to come to council meeting. I don't know yet. We've done that before too. So, okay, that's all I got.
I won't forget you next time.
It's okay. I won't
I
be
did
here.
send out an
I won't
email
be
and
here
asked
next
if you
time.
wanted to be on it and.
Oh,
never-
sorry.
Like, she never answered.
It's okay. I won't be here next month anyway.
Oh, we'll put you on the list anyway. You can come to by Zoom. I just started putting you on every list.
Okay, so just a couple housekeeping things. We did meet as a board last week. There is everybody on the board has somewhat agreed to stay on because each position you can hold for 2 years. So I'm gonna continue to stay on as president. The position we need is open currently, which will be open in 2026 is secretary, because Veronica has been the secretary for 2 years. So she cannot continue to do that position. If you are interested in being the secretary, I urge you to get with Veronica so she can explain what her responsibilities are. And then please include me with that email if you are interested in taking on that position. I know myself, I've only been in this group for maybe, Stephanie, 3 or 4 years. And I have learned an unbelievable information about our group. I've met so many nice people and have developed so many relationships that it just makes our group stronger. If you get involved and really spend the time with some of the other folks that you don't normally see. So give that some thought, please. We did put together a nomination committee. We did. And so that someone may be reaching out to you, also to see if you would be interested, to do that as well. So again, just start giving it some thought, because it's a nice way to get involved. Next is, I am gonna mention again, the community garden, because of the cuts, Gina is now doing that on her own. So she does need a co-chair to help with getting volunteers out there to work on the community garden. It is in New Albany, correct? So all of you who live in New Albany, this would be a great way to help your community. And it's like we were talking about at the board meeting, I live in Corden now, it's gonna take me a half an hour to get there. So some of you, this is all right in your backyard. If you can go in and just even do a half an hour a week would be extremely helpful. So again, give that some thought. Gina did mention that for Master Gardeners, I think the state of Indiana, we are required to have the least amount of volunteer hours in the country. So, again, if you're looking for some nice hours, again, half an hour here, half an hour there to help with some of these things would be greatly appreciated. Also the board approved this week, which I'm sure you guys have seen, we are taking on Speed Park. Karen Alexander is going to lead that. She is also looking for a co-chair. We've decided with these projects, it's best to have two people, lead it, so that way if somebody's sick or they decide to move, whatever, that we have two people who know what's going on with these projects. We also approved, the Art Alliance, Melanie Posh, she's here tonight. If you guys don't know her, she's great. She's got wonderful energy. She's like a little bunny. So she has decided to take the lead on that project. I don't know if you want to talk anything about it while you're here.
Snyder is going to co-chair.
Okay, Pam Schneider is going to co-chair with her, but it's a great little, again, it's right on,
In New Albany,
on Market Street.
on 820 East Market Street. It's an established garden. There are projects that we'd like to take on, but basically we just need some help in maintaining it. Most of it is shade area, which is nice in the summertime. And we just have a good time, work for a little bit, talk, chat, have some fun. It's just a magical little place.
Yeah, and they do a monarch release as well. So there's an educational piece to it. We need to relabel some of the plants and things that are there. So she's head leading that to get that a little bit more organized over there. And I think that's all I have. Does anybody have anything that maybe I've missed or didn't put on the agenda that they'd like to share? Everybody good? Okay, so I need how many, Veronica, hours for education? 1 hour of education
Half hour.
and a half an hour for our meeting, the volunteer hour. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sarah.
Aaron Bullion.
Point of order, was the financial statement approved?
You don't approve it. It goes for audit.
Oh, they were quick on that.
So who was the second? So did Bonnie?
Bonnie was second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, well, you guys have a great evening.